Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube video channel. Today, I have Dr. Emily LeTran, the super mom on my channel. She will be willing to help me out, introduce you guys, what she can help you guys on how to leverage your office, how to improve productivity, how to handle your stress, how to manage your office in the most effective way. Without further ado, I want to have Dr. LeTran introduce herself about how long she's been practicing, how what her passion is all about for you guys. Here we go, Dr. LeTran.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on. It's such an honor, and thank you for creating the platform to share stories and strategies, and hopefully inspire some of our doctors, right?
Yes.
On how to do better. So just a small recap. Well, first, I love to be introduced as the best mom in the world, right? So then everybody started going, no, you're not, no, you're not. And I said, no, I claim it first, so I own it, right? That's a marketing principle. So I was actually born in Vietnam back in the late 60s and, grew up during the Vietnam War. And then after the communists took over, I actually escaped on a boat with my aunt, my older brother, and my cousins. And we ended up in the refugee camp in Malaysia. We were there for about 4 months. So we were very, very lucky because there are people who were there for years. And then we got accepted to come to the US. So I actually first settled in Louisiana.
How old were you?
When I first came, I was 13.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was very lucky because I finished 7th grade over there. And I came here and basically spent the summer in the refugee camp and came here and started 8th grade. So never lost any time.
Wow.
I mean, that definitely came into school a little bit late, but because in New Orleans, they started school, I think, earlier in August, and we came sometime toward the end of August, I think. And so then we started, I lived in New Orleans for 6 months, and then we moved to California. We were moving out my cousin's house, ended up in Southern California, sharing an apartment with a friend of a friend. And, we were sleeping on the floor.
Wow.
I remember trying to study this one little dining table, and we took turn, right? So eat dinner, and if 2 of people are studying on that table, the other 2 are studying on the floor because we didn't have any other table rotating like that. And but because of that, I think I was very driven. We know that there's only one way to go up, right? Because you're already starting at the bottom.
Right.
So I actually graduated valedictorian from high school and then went to UC Riverside. This is when UC Riverside was very small, has about 5,000 students.
Wow.
I finished in 3 years as magna cum laude.
Wow.
And then went to UCLA dental school. And I did my DDS degree together with my a master in oral biology, because when I was in school, I thought I wanted to specialize. So I said, well, I guess I need to do research. And then I'm thinking, well, if I have to do research, might as well get the degree, right? So while everybody was taking so many classes, I always have a couple of extra. The advantage, though, is you can use some of the classes for both.
I see.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of like when you transfer and you can
Right.
take some classes. So similar to that, but we're just killing it, 2 birds with 1 stone. So I finished dental school and my master in the same 4 years. And when I finished, did a GPR because I still thought I wanted to specialize. And during my GPR, I figured I didn't like anything, right? I actually like it more when it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I decided to remain as a GP. I went out and worked. I always work at multiple offices. First, I thought because partly because I was curious and I wanted to learn.
Can I ask you? So GPR, you were doing GPR at the VA hospital or at
at the VA Loma Linda.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah,
a couple of my friends did that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So the VA Loma Linda is mostly well, it's a VA hospital, so it's mostly men. Well, yeah, at
Mm.
least back then, right? It
Yeah.
was mostly men. A lot of them were had served in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
Korean War.
I
There were
see.
some who had served in the Vietnam War. So I learned this whole system on how you classify patients
Mm-hmm.
and how, depending on how much you serve, how involved you were, sorry, that's how much benefits you had, right? So if you were a POW, you could have everything.
I see.
And if you weren't, then you only had so much work that the VA would cover. So yeah, so I did that for a year and then went out, work in multiple offices. And 3 years after that, bought my first practice. And then I bought my second practice, and I bought my third practice.
Wow.
And so overall, I bought 5 practices. And
Wow.
next year, it will be exactly 30 years that I graduated from UCLA.
Wow. So many years of experience of practice transaction and management. So I'm sure with the experience that you have and the coaching experience and training that you receive from a lot of your mentor, today would be a wonderful day to ask you a few questions. Most people in the dental field, especially the young dentists, have a lot of stress when they start the office, and they seem like that's the first thing they suffering is a stress.
Yeah.
uh, from your many years of experience, can you give some of us some basis concept of stress and how we handle it in a way that is help us out?
Yes, and stress is really just part of life, right? We all got stressed. Like you and I, we live in we live in California where there's a lot of traffic, right? You leave your house, you get on the freeway, you already have stress.
Right.
just just simply driving. But I think a lot of time when we talk about business, and this could be true for a new practitioner or somebody who's been doing it for a long time, or somebody who want to expand, right? Like to grow. The Some of the common reason for stress is a lack of support, right? Maybe you
Mm,
have a question, you don't know who to ask.
mhm.
Um, Even if you ask, you don't know if that's the right answer.
Right.
You can just take a look at social media. Somebody would ask a question and there are 20 answers, but you don't know who are the people who answer the
That is really
questions,
true. That is really
right?
true. Yep,
Yeah,
that's
so you
true.
you don't know, and so lack of support, like good support, I should say, or it
Mm.
could be your family's.
Trustful. Yeah,
Yeah,
trustful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, or it could be your
Mm,
family, right?
yeah.
If you want to stay back at work late and your spouse wants you to be home or your kids want you to be home, and they don't like the fact that you're late, coming home to dinner, they're not going to support that. They get upset and things like that. So that there's also the lack from the family,
Mm,
right? And then there's a lack of communication sometimes. When I talk to a doctor, the doctor may say, yes, I want to do $100,000 a month, right? Because we want to make a million, like 1.2 million. And then I talk to the staff and they have no idea how to get to 100 because the doctor didn't communicate. This is what I want. I want 100 a
mhm,
month. Over here, the staff is just cranking out production, but they have no guidance, right? So there's a lack of communication
mm.
that would also cause stress because when people don't know, they'll ask more questions. And then when people ask you a lot of questions, I don't know about you, but for me, I get stressed out. It's like, don't ask so many questions, right? I'm one of those people that I tend to try to figure things out. So with my staff, sometimes I say, well, it's common sense. And they would say, well, it's not common sense to us, right?
Mm,
So it's a
mm.
lack of communication from my part that could cause a stress in them. And then overall, they could they bring me the stress, right?
That is
The
true.
Yeah, or there's a gap between what you expect and the reality, right?
Mm,
think
mm,
think about all of us come out, and I don't care what year you graduate because people always talk about, oh yeah, the newer grads, they have debts, etc. Well, when we were back in the days, we had debt too. I had a conversation with this lady the other day because she's now into serving DSOs, right?
mhm,
But we've been in dentistry for almost 30 years. And she was talking about when she started out as a dental assistant. So that would be about the same time I graduated from dental school. And at that time, dental assistant made $7, right? And a new dentist came out, we made $200.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so maybe we had a smaller loan, but now you come out and you have a bigger loan, but then you're getting paid $700, $800. So it's all kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you don't have the right expectation, like if you come out and you say, "Oh, I'm going to come out and I'm going to buy this nice house and I'm going to buy this cool car and I want to take all these fancy vacations," and then you come out and the first time, I think you had I think you had 6 months grace or whatever, where you don't have to pay your loan. And then once the loan comes in and you have to start making payments, now reality really hit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in school, you're not gonna sit there and try to figure out how to pay your loan because you never work a day and you don't know how much you're gonna get paid. But the sooner we get into that grip of reality, and we were chatting earlier, we talk about the book I wrote with Dr. Steve Maltner,
Right.
no nonsense dentistry for
Mm-hmm.
dental peeps, right? And
Yeah.
we talk about, hey, congratulations, you graduated from dental school. Now get to work, because that's how it's supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, you can get into, learning how to save and leveraging debt, and that's something that you learn a little bit later. Or in my case, I learned it right away because the opportunity just came right up, for
Mm-hmm.
me, to buy a practice. So
So let
sometimes,
me stop you really quick. You
okay.
mentioned about the book that you have is on Amazon. It's called Nonsense, No Nonsense Dentistry
Yes.
for Dental Bib. Is this the one right here?
Yes, that's the one. Yes.
I see. Oh, okay. It looked like it looked very similar to those call what is that called, a typical color like of the book like this
Yeah, it's the dummy book.
for dummy book.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's what we wanted to play on that, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, but I couldn't say, I wanted to say no BS dentistry for dummies, but
Uh-huh.
that would violate so many copyright.
Yeah. I see.
So
Okay.
that would not work. So we say, okay, we're just gonna take the color.
And so
And
this book with you and Dr.
Dr. Steve Maltner.
Steve Marner. Okay.
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes. And
Yeah.
there's a couple of other doctors in there who
Uh-huh.
who, who helped publish the book. So they wrote chapters like Dr. Gina Dorfman of Yappy,
Uh-huh.
Dr. Nathan Ho
Mm.
of Envision Stars, Dr. Katie Toe of KT Seminars.
Mm.
It was The foreword was written by Stephen Stephen Parker. He
Mm.
is the CEO of the Profitable Dentist, and so that company was started by Dr. Woody Oakes, who is a little bit older than Dr. Howard Farran. I know you interviewed Dr. Farran
Mm-hmm.
recently. So Dr. Woody Oakes was, teaching you through newsletter, teaching you through DVD. I think it was DVD, and then after that it was CD, and he has events, and so those are when you know you learn because you really want to learn. In
Mm-hmm.
other words, information was not at your fingertip, right? There was no internet. You don't go and just Google or go to YouTube and just look up something. This is information that you have to buy
Mm-hmm.
and you consume, you read, right? Because you want to. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it wasn't free. It wasn't around. So the other part we were talking about, the stress, is the stress can also be caused by a lack of knowledge. And
That's
I,
true.
I, I would change it like apply knowledge, right? Because the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, the information is there, but how do you use it,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the same as when, if you remember, we went to dental school and we could be sitting next to each other, but I take 5 pages of notes and you have one, or whatever
Right.
it is,
Right.
because
Right.
it's how we interpret,
Yep.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
then whatever we wrote down, whatever we distilled, that's what we use to apply.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, if you if you if you have a lot of those where you haven't figured out, like you don't have enough information,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have enough support,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't have good communication with your staff, and same thing is true if you don't communicate well with your patient, you're not going to close the case.
Mm-hmm.
You could be talking to 5 people about Invisalign and nobody bought. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things can cause that stress, and it could be at any part in your career. So to learn from usually the fastest way is with a coach, a mentor, a consultant, or you can read books.
Mhm.
But really is, are you applying that now, and are you keep on tweaking,
Mhm.
right? I remember when I first bought 30 VHS tapes from Dr. Howard Farran, right?
Mhm.
Because it's called 30-day MBA. And I would go and say, okay, I'm going to watch this tape first. I think it was on staff. I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, I can't go from the beginning to here because
Mhm.
I'm dealing with this, and this is what I want to watch, right? So that's the advantage of having somebody as a coach, because you can ask that person that question, that person walk you through how to figure out the answer,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And in the meantime, that person can also be that support when we talk about if there's a lack of communication. Maybe one of the doctors who was one of my client, it got to the point where she said, my husband would say, what would Dr. Emily say? And they have a conversation because he knew that I was very clear in how I could support her. But
Mhm.
sometimes she couldn't see it as
Mhm.
clear as me, right? Because when we outside, a lot of time when we look in, we have a different insight, right?
Mhm.
But
Right.
all of a sudden I become, well, what do you mean? What would I say between you two? You two are trying to figure out whatever business that you're doing together, but it's husband and wife. So having the person that could give that insight, give a different perspective, and have the information on hand per se, right?
Yeah.
Get the answer right away.
Mhm.
It brings the speed, which gets you to achieve what you want, which would lessen the stress.
I
So
I agree. It sometimes a lot of uh, especially dentists. We work so hard in school, and then we trying to get to settle out with the office, and then we're just trying to build something, but sometimes we don't take the advantage of having an expert, a coach, a consultant who can simply shorten the time that we have to be to spend in order to reach certain level of our career. And with your experience, there's so much you can help them. And so I totally agree with you, how you should have some personal coach or consultant to help to manage your office, so you
yeah,
can be more successful in a faster way, right?
yes, it all has to do with that. If you want to control that stress, right?
Hmm.
Because if you're stressful and you don't know the answer, and you're gonna go, let's just say, read a book. I'm not talking about my book, but let's say somebody say, "Oh, you want to learn how to, you know, lead your team? Go read this book." Well, I have these three questions right now. I don't want to go read a book, right? You
Right. Yeah, you
reading
need
it.
you need something immediately,
Yes,
right away.
yes. You need that
Yeah.
support. Maybe you need to put out a particular fire, in the
Hmm.
office.
Hmm.
So to me, when you start valuing your time,
Hmm.
right, which is you want to be more productive, you want to do things the fastest way, the most efficient way, but still with the quality.
Hmm.
And so you can leave on time, or you can have a regular lunch break, or you can take time on vacation, right?
Hmm.
All of those things give you back your time,
Hmm.
which once you lose that, it's gone. But you have to have that mindset to put big value on your time. That's when I'm sure you've heard of the 80-20 rule,
Hmm. Can you
right?
share with us a little bit?
Okay, so the 80-20 rule, and you can look this up. I can't cite the source right now, but
Hmm.
it's in
Hmm.
business.
Hmm.
It says that 20% of your effort bring 80% of your result,
Okay. That is.
or
Mhm.
20% of your customer bring 80% of your money. Okay.
That
So
is.
what,
Mhm.
yeah. So what we do is, to me, and I struggle with this too, trying to explain that to the staff, right?
Mhm.
Our job, if we want to be less stressful and more productive and have higher income, is to identify that 20% and focus on that 20%.
That's true.
The other 80%, they want to go somewhere else, just let them go somewhere else, right? Focus on this 20%, because that's 20% of your effort will bring in 80% of your result.
Mm.
And if you serving the right patient, and by that, I don't mean they rich or whatever, I mean they're the one that show up to the appointment. They're the one that refer other people, right? They're the
Mm-hmm.
one that if they have high dollar value treatment, they're willing to maybe do third party financing, right? Because they value their health
Mm.
and they go through all of that with you. And on top of that, if they stay with you for a long time, um, then I I can almost guarantee you're going to be successful. And the doctor who gets stuck trying to deal with, do I refund this patient money, right? Uh, my PPO fee is not high enough, like all of those things that you hear about it all the time. And
Mm.
I'm not saying that I don't have those same challenge. What I'm saying is you have to look over that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if this is the issue that you're trying to deal with, is there somebody else you can bring in to help you with the issue, right?
Yeah.
Like help you negotiate that fee so you don't have to think about it. You go back over here and you treat your patient, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you go to a class, a continuum, or whatever, and you learn the newest technology, and then that's the one you offer to the patient. So you're going to be different from the doctor across the street, right? Because
Yes.
they're everywhere. They're just right next to you. But you got to offer something different. So then to the patient, you could be an author, you could be a speaker. They see you on magazine, and then they see, you involved in the community. And then on top of that, you have some of these new technology. The other ones, unless they're doing the exact same thing, there's no comparison. And you don't even need to compete. What you're doing is you just dominate in that particular category. As my office has been here, like my office will be in Monrovia for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
This year, in June, no, actually September, Labor Day, that's when I took over. So Labor Day would be exactly 25 years. My other office is in the community. It's going to be 18 years, 4th of July, right? So when you have that track record, it doesn't matter if the doctor down the street is giving a discount, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't talk about price. He's talking about price. You don't talk about price. You're going to talk about, I've been here for 24 years, 25 years. I've been serving this community for 25 years. I have patients who've been with me for 25 years. So unless he has those same things,
Mm-hmm.
we're comparing orange and apples. And you can just stand in what we call the category of one. So you're just by yourself because nobody's talking about the same thing that you do.
I agree. Um, so really quick, regarding to the stress you mentioned about a couple of really key thing is you need a consultant, you need a mentor, you need a coach, you need somebody who is trustful that can help you out. And what else you can just summarize on that stress note before we move on to the how to keep productivity up, or other topic that we want to just touch base a little bit.
Well, I would encourage everybody to look at stress from, um, well, I hate to put money on it, but just put money on it for a moment, right? If you say, I'm sitting here and I'm stressing out, let's say you're gonna do a 10 veneer case, right? And you're sitting here and you're stressed out because you don't do it enough, right? Enough time, or maybe this is your first one or whatever it is. That stress comes from a lack of knowledge and experience, right? Because if you've been doing it, then you're not going to be stressed out. So if you have that kind of stress, then you ask yourself, okay, where can I go take a class, right? Like, how can I practice this more? Well, the only way to practice this more is to diagnose more of it. And we all know if we don't do certain things, we don't we don't diagnose that one, right? Like if you don't do braces, you're not going to tell the patient you need braces. Not as much as if you actually do braces. Or if you don't do implants, you probably will talk to the patient more about a bridge or a denture, right? So it's all up here. So if you want to control that stress, whatever is stressing you out, just pause, look at it, and ask yourself why you're stressed out about that. And like I said, one of the fastest way to overcome that is to have a coach who can just kind of give you that perspective and help you figure out the best way to overcome that. Because if you think about it, you see it on social media sometimes, people posting the case. I think that two kinds of people who post clinical pictures, right? One is the show off, and and the other one, sometimes I feel like you sure you should have done that? Should you have started that case,
Mm.
right? Because now they're asking for help, right?
Right.
But maybe you shouldn't start the case, or maybe you should have just referred the patient. That. So to me, those are the two that I usually see the pictures, clinical pictures posted, and for me, it's if you know that you're giving it 100% to the patient, right? Like, hey, I've done all this work. I've done the continuum. I know I did a beautiful case. I delivered to the patient. The the people you should brag to should be your patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can brag to your peers. That's nice. I don't think your peers are going to become your patients. But what you really should brag about is brag to your patients. Send that video, send that picture out to the rest of the patients. Send it out, send the pictures out, and maybe write a column for the local newspaper, right? Um, get some of those patients who support you, talk about that case, so that the patient, you can start that conversation. Get more referrals. So be very intentional in what you do, um, and look at, like I said, the value of time, the how much the stress costs. I forgot what the studies say, but the amount of money it costs as far as stress goes in the United States is in the billions,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened is we don't think that, well, that stress is like my staff or whatever, and then we don't think that it's costing us. Well, it could be costing you your health, could be costing you your stomach lining, right? Could be costing you your white hair, whatever it is, right? And so the more prepared you are, then the better you would be to deal with some of the stress. And if you look at how much time you waste trying to deal with the stress, if you put a dollar value on it, if you want to produce $1,000 an hour and you're sitting here stressing out for 30 minutes, well, it just costs you $500. If you want to think of it that way, then you would try to learn how to control that stress better.
Pretty much I learned from you is that to reduce the stress on anything that you have with the issue, you got to know more and you have to see the expert for that. That is a good advice, because I never look at that way, but now I see what you're talking about is you have to figure out where is your weakness and how, and seek for knowledge and wisdom from the expert, the one that been there, done that. I learned
Yeah,
that.
well, yeah, you know how there's a saying that success leaves clues, right? Instead of trying to figure out everything, just look at, oh, that person's done that before. Let me see what's the fastest way to do this. I remember back in like late 90s, I was going to these seminars called the $1 Million Staff, right? And it's Dr. Joe Stevens and Dr. Troilo. I forgot what Troilo's first name is, but they put on these seminars called $1 Million Staff. So the first time I went by myself. The second time I went with all my staff. And the third time, we actually went on a cruise. Same kind of like same seminar. And the very first time I took my staff to Hawaii was 2006, when one of the office did $1 million, right? So we were learning those clues on how to successfully build a team, right? And grow the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a much faster way than me trying to figure out how do I lead the staff of 3 practices, because because each office is a little different and the staff are different ages, and there's young ones and not no experience, there's 15 years experience. But if you learn from somebody like that who already have $1 million staff, when you learn like that, you learn quicker, right? You try to avoid certain mistakes that you don't need to make a mistake to learn. Sometimes you just need to hear the story and you go, okay, I got it. I don't need to actually experience it. And then you actually build your own $1 million staff, right? Which to me, that's the best way to spend your time and the best way to invest in yourself.
I
Because
see.
yeah, you could put your money in a lot of places, but start with yourself first.
I see. Can you tell us a little bit more about your high performance coach and traveling? What is your schedule these days? How often you go around and lecture in nationwide? I see you travel to India and any other a lot of other country. Let the other people know about what how often you do it and when is the next one?
Well, thank you so much for asking. Well, the Indian things, obviously that was before COVID, right? Right before COVID, the beginning of March of 2020, I was in Egypt and Canada. And then when I came back, that's when the whole thing got shut down. So my passion is on high performance. So high performance is personal growth, right? And because your business growth is limited by your personal growth. If, for example, if I were to tell you, you know, let's spend $5,000 and rent our movie theater and invite our patients to come, right? You may say, well, that's a lot of money, right? So that's your relationship with money, right? Can I invest $5,000 in a movie? Can I just ask how many patients want to go and I'll just give them the ticket? It's going to be cheaper rather than just go and rent out the whole movie theater kind of thing, right? So it's your relationship with the money. It has to do with your understanding of business, right? What is the return on investment? What is the cost of acquiring a patient? How do you maximize the value of a patient? So those understanding have to do with marketing, business metrics.
Mm,
So yeah, so my passion is to take the personal growth and mix it with the business growth. And because, like we mentioned at the beginning, there's no shortage of information. Do you want to train your staff? You can probably buy a book, read a book, look up on YouTube somebody teaching HR, and that's it, right? Like all the information is there. How come you can't go back and fire that staff that you keep complaining about, right? Because it's on you, because that's sometimes you lack of courage is very common for all of us,
mhm.
right? Sometimes you don't know how to communicate well, because if you come out and it sounds like you're just blaming the staff, that's not going to turn out very well, right? So you got to know the art of persuasion, how you're going to make them feel better, how you're going to invite them to go find another opportunity. So all of those things are high performance. So I love that part because I think there's a gap. I mean, actually, I don't think there's a gap. I know there's a gap because just in conversation with different people, um, let's say I'm talking to somebody and they upset, they full of grudges and all that. That's a lack of personal growth
Mm,
because you can look at things always on the positive side,
mhm.
right? And you could forgive. Like there's a lot of things that I just need to hear the person venting, and I already know, this person can use some help. But it's not about business. It's going to be about how he or she can grow himself or herself. So I do, like I said, I do events every quarter. I actually have one coming up in Philadelphia, April 8th and 9th. So anybody who want to get a complimentary ticket, they can just message me on Facebook, on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
We got Legally Mine, Keep, Kettenbach, and another company as our sponsors. So that's how we could give away some of the tickets.
Mm.
Um, the my event is usually on personal growth. Surprise, on personal growth and marketing. Uh,
Interesting. Very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
may have one or two clinical speakers,
Mhm.
but the majority of the time, it's what I see is you come into the event and
Mhm.
you're gonna leave a different person, right? You're
That's
gonna leave,
important. Yeah,
yeah,
that's important.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna leave like asking questions. Well, how come I know this but I haven't done this, right? Or
Mhm.
maybe how come I haven't done this? Or maybe how come I don't know this? I need to go back and implement this. And we talk about very practical things because everything I teach are stuff that I have already done,
Mhm.
right? Like if somebody say, I need time management, okay, and I can tell them, okay, well, I have 3 kids, I have 3 offices for 9 years. right? So 3 kids, 3 offices, and I manage all 3 offices. I have specialists, um, GP, right, and the staff in each office. And I was going to seminars to learn, right? And I was growing all of these offices. And yes, I have HMO, PPO, whatever you say. When I try to grow my office, all of those segments grow. So I'm just like, forget it. I'm not going to try focusing on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like a good mix of stuff. So if you have those kind of challenge with staff, with different offices, with family, with trying to take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I can probably help you because I've done all that, right?
Mm.
So a lot of times what I share is very practical things I've done, uh, mistakes that I've made, and how to overcome that. Because sometimes you make a mistake. It's not that you're wrong. It's because you were looking at things wrong.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you think, oh no, this is this, but it's actually the other way or a different way. And if you understand it differently or you have a different perspective, you would have chosen a different course of action. And I think that's where the coaching comes you know into play. And when I do coaching, I have one-on-one or I have group coaching. So with group coaching, you may not have the one-on-one time because we do a group call, but then we have a Facebook group where you can ask any questions and I will be answering it.
Mm.
We're just not getting on the phone, or getting on Zoom. And you still have the full support because like we said earlier, the lack of support can really cause a lot of stress.
Right. I see.
Mhm.
That's really great because I think this could apply to a seasonal dentist or even or a new dentist, whoever that is that suffering from stress or uh, ability to make your office be more productive, and it all come together with the personal growth that you mentioned. So. Um, what else can you share with us in about a few minutes in this quick podcast, and give us some wisdom of like how to improve or keep your patient in the office, for example? It come together with productivity and how to make an impact to for a treatment for or a scenario that you make the patient feel that bring your office to the next level of service. Can you give us some wisdom on those?
Yes, absolutely. So, and I actually would tie that back to personal growth because a big part of personal growth is purpose, right? So it's not I want to make $1 million and I want to retire when I'm, I don't know, 56, and then I want to go buy a yacht, that kind of thing, right? The purpose is what else can you bring to life, right? Besides, obviously, you take care of yourself, you already take care of your family. Those are given.
Mm,
What else can you do? So when you think bigger like that, you start thinking philanthropy,
mm.
right? So and I'm grateful that you guys were doing giving the mask back to Vietnam during
Yes.
COVID,
Yeah.
right? Philanthropy like that because now we're over here and we're thinking all the way over there
Mhm. Mhm.
across the Pacific Ocean, right? And nobody say you have to help, right?
Mm.
This is just from you, and you also organize events
Right.
up there. So I've been doing free dentistry day in my office for several
Mhm.
years.
Mm.
So we just pick a day, and we would start at 7. We go like 7 to 3, and we would do free cleaning, filling, or an extraction. And if somebody come in and need beyond that, let's say they need a wisdom tooth taken out, and I'm not going to do it. I would have them come back with my oral surgeon,
Mhm.
and I would ask the oral surgeon to do it for free,
Mm.
right? And if
Wow.
he doesn't want to do it for free, then I would say, okay, fine. I still pay you, but I just want to let you know I'm doing it for free for this patient because I couldn't handle it,
Mm.
on the free dentistry day. Or maybe somebody need a flipper. I would call up the lab and say, hey, this patient needs a flipper. I'm doing it for free. Can you do the lab for free? Right. So now you're involving the community. And so going back to what I said earlier, the other doctor across town, they they advertising on price or whatever. What if over here you're talking about the last free dentistry day we gave away $60,000 of free dentistry?
Mm.
Okay, so who's going to compete with you on that? I think it's great to compete on philanthropy, right? right? I'm going to outdo you in giving away things, right? That would be a great competition to
Yeah.
see who can do better, because you're just creating impact, right? And when you have patients, see, patients stay with you. And I know that people say, oh, the patients stay because of your staff.
Mm.
I actually disagree. I think the patients stay because of the value that your office bring, right? Why do I say that? Because I have staff turnover like everybody,
Mhm.
right? And you always hear it. Somebody leave and say, well, when I leave, all the patients are not going to come. Yeah, right. All the patients still come because they come because they know this office stand for whatever value,
Mm.
right? So for us, it's integrity. It's telling it like it is. I mean, I have patients who get a postcard from somebody else, go over there, come back to me and ask, so do I actually have so many cavities? And I would tell them whatever. And I say, yeah, I know. I'm coming back to ask you because I know you tell it like it is, right? No, I don't
Mm.
want to see your associate. I want to see you. but my point is they come back because the office stand for something, right?
I see.
Or when we do the free movie night, sometimes patients come up because we have people check in.
Mm.
So we can say hi to them. And the patient will come up to me and say, thank you for inviting us to the movie. And it's so nice to meet you for the first time. Right. So it's kind of embarrassing because I don't know them because I
Mhm.
have associates.
Mhm.
But then, what I'm proud of is, but they still come, like they come to the office and they
Mhm.
come to the event, and they come because we represent fun, we represent family, we represent value. And we've been, like I said, we've been in the community for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, I have patients who've been with me for 25 years, right?
Right.
I have family of 3 generations,
Mhm.
and and they come in, and because sometimes they would come and say, yeah, I've been here since whatever age, right? Or a young adult. One time he told me, you've been around for a long time. And I'm like, you've been around for a long time since you were a kid, and now you can sign your own paperwork,
Mhm.
right? So for you to enjoy that kind of relationship, you have to do something right. And
Mhm.
and yeah, and for me, it's the values that you deliver. And your staff, usually, if you're able to communicate with your staff, this is what you expect,
Mhm.
right? Like you want it to be fun, you want it to be friendly.
Mhm.
Anybody who don't fit into that, they usually won't last very long in,
Right.
in your office, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
they just kind of self-select and leave. So that's what I think, if somebody want to grow their office,
Mhm.
start with growing yourself
Mhm.
and then grow your staff. Make sure you communicate those values to your staff so they can deliver those kind of values to your patient, because you will always have a new staff, a new doctor, somebody brand new. Patients are not used to them, but they know that if something, let's say if something didn't go right, they know you're going to take care of it, right?
Right.
Because you're of integrity.
Right.
And if you build that trust, you will have the patient with you for a long time. And the income will come because as patients come back for a long time, they're just going to spend more money with you.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It seemed to me when I speak to expert like you and the coach, the author of the book, those who be people who spend time and write a book, I found a common core that they have is they they have the core value, core purpose of their for family, for their office, for their service, for whatever type of business they are in. They found a common core, the value that they want to, a specific core value that they want to have, and they build on that, and that's how it lasts. Like your
Right,
office, it lasts so many years
right.
because you do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then also other thing is you mentioned about giving back to the community. There's a great book called Hobby Lobby.
right. Yeah, I know that book.
That's an amazing book as well, right? It's how
Right.
they said that giving all and you will get all it back. But what you have done in your office is just something very unique, and I love that story that you share for us. How you do the movie nights for the whole community, staff, the patient. That's beautiful. And also other thing you do is you have a constant charity work for your office year round. That's also something that not a lot of us doing. So it is something that we model what we should we love to hear from you, and how successful it is and how it's blessed for other people. And Dr. Emily, thank you for your time and the time that you spent to this Friday afternoon and your
Mhm.
expertise. Do you have a website or on this screen, or on phone number or anything that email that you can leave it up here so we can share it, or maybe I will post it and share it to the
Yeah,
people?
yes. So people can go to dremilyletran.com. That's my website. So it's
Uh-huh.
DREMILYLETRAN.com.
Uh-huh.
When they go on there, they see the books. They can get the books. There's some online courses on there. They can request a a complimentary 30 minutes call. I call it a focus call because it's a call where you can share with me one challenge and we'll solve it right there,
Mm.
right? They can watch my TEDx video, which was done a couple of years back, sharing my story. And, I'm pretty active on social media. They can always reach out to me, and I would love to see you or any of your audience at my upcoming event in Philadelphia. I think when I want to end with this story, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the we're talking about values, right? So
Hmm.
several years ago, I had a patient, and she told my staff that her house got burned out. It was whatever house fire accident,
Mm.
and she shared with the staff that. So what I did is I sent out an email, and I asked people to donate money,
Hmm.
right? And I said, anybody who donate money, I'm going to double the amount. So
Wow.
we
Hmm.
basically made it into like this little drive, right? Like money
Yeah.
drive
Yeah.
to give it to the patient.
Hmm.
And we also do a new patient contest. It's a referral contest. So people refer new patients, and then we pick our name at the end of whatever time the contest is. So
Hmm.
when I picked it out, it happened to be that particular patient's name, right? The person who the house got burned, and that particular gift was a big screen TV. So
Mm.
we thought we were so excited because we said this is so fitting for her, right? She
Yep.
just had her house burned out. We're
Hmm.
gonna give her this TV. So we gave it to her. Then she called us back and she said, "Oh, I took the TV to City of Hope and I gave it to City of Hope,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
It was for one of the patient there or one of the rooms there or whatever it was."
Mm.
And for me, it's about that ripple effect,
Hmm.
right? Because we over here, we're doing this, it's just for my patient, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And the next thing you know, she got a gift and then she give it, to somebody else.
Mm.
So I think to create that culture, like people talk about culture all the time, right?
Hmm.
It's really showing it with action. Like
Hmm.
give something to the community or to your patient. Yeah, brag about it
Hmm.
because I think those are good things to share
Yeah.
because it will create those ripple effect. And besides, that's part of marketing. But I mean, besides the marketing part, sharing those things is what set you apart, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Hmm.
otherwise, you're going to be that best kept secret. You could be the most generous person and nobody know.
Absolutely. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, we're not at the point where we're so well off that we can be an anonymous donor, right?
Mm.
But for right now, we're creating what
Hmm.
I call, you're really creating your own economy. You're creating the people in your circle who support your dental office or your coaching business or whatever it is,
Hmm.
and you make that your own thing. So it doesn't matter whatever is happening in the economy, whatever it is, but those core people, your own patients, those are the ones that will stay with you and support you.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful end of the story. Thank you so much,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Emily LeTran. I hope to see you next time with a new topic, different topic. Have a
Sure.
wonderful day. You have a wonderful day. Thank you
Yes,
again for
thank
joining
you.
us. It's an honor.
Okay. Yeah,
It's a,
thank you so much. And hope everybody enjoyed the talk and may the floss be with you.
Amen. All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Okay.